data protection for our most projects, and more so that we are able to build websites for the schools where our teachers go to train. For those which have, it is good. Those who do not have the websites, we are doing that. And in the process, we have been able to create the school repositories. So the schools which have created the websites have got a backlink to the main university website, and they can access our digital library and other services. What I want to say here is that with the creation of such websites, other players in the education industry are going to showcase what they have to the schools. The banks will not be left behind. The eCitizen, now we are talking about it, will not be left behind. Now that these websites consume a lot of data, I know that the Safaricom will be more than interested, because it is a business opportunity. We have also, in the process of association with Codita, come up with a professional body of webmaster and online marketers. And this one was established to provide free online marketing. This body has a secretariat which is hosted in Must, and I'm happy to mention that the chair of this body is none other than the Director, Kenya Investment Authority, Madam June Kipkemei. We also have an association with AFRALAT. This is the African Advanced Telecommunication Institute, and it does a lot of capacity building, particularly in the area of ICT, and this has gone a long way to improve on our service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, digitalization in the University of Choice will be spearheaded if teachers will graduate with relevant skills and with proper attitude. One of the concepts or issues that is bedeviling the rollout of CBC is an issue of attitude. Even at the university level, other schools, schools of engineering, school of medicine, they think that CBC is a school of education affair. They are not even worried or concerned that they are going to receive these graduates from secondary school in the year 2027. But it has been our duty to inform them that they will be concerned. As I have said, digital literacy or digitalization of education can only be anchored and successfully on mobile telephony and social media. So that becomes the panacea. And therefore, what we are saying as a university, with proper partnership, I can see this dream come true, where I'm going to churn out a teacher who is already digital ready, a teacher who is already having a proper mindset, that this teacher will only get seamlessly integrated into the ICT integration class and be able to roll out a powerful, quality, and relevant education. As I finish, as a university, we need an appropriate ICT pedagogical infrastructure that will enable us to achieve this. We need space. We need ICT gadgets and devices. I need a multimedia lab or a studio. It is interesting out there that we have a notion that maybe everything that the university requires is provided. It is not true, quite on the contrary. So what I'm saying is that if we were to partner with somebody who has or who can see through the lens of our eye, then I should be in a position to mold a teacher that will lead our learners to where we expect them to be. We train teachers at early years education certificate. We train teachers at diploma who are having either secondary or primary option. We train teachers for secondary schools or senior school. I want to mention here, Waziri, that if we are to succeed in this role of digitalizing the education, then the first place where we need to start is at the level of teacher preparation. You can have a great student, you can have wonderful gadgets, but it was mentioned here, without proper content, we shall not get there. We shall work on the aspect of digitalizing this content and imparting proper mindset, which has to do with the attitude. And with this, I'm telling you, I'll be in a position to churn out teachers who are ready for the ever-changing and challenging educational landscape. Thank you so much for listening to me.
You're very, very much on time. Another clap for Dr. Eric. Eric is in Masinde Muliro, and we are still here, so you can access him anytime if you have any question to pose to him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to move on with the next session, where we are going to learn more about digitizing education. We're asking ourselves, how can Kenya provide equitable access to digital learning by 2027? And we're going to listen to different people who are versed with the knowledge in this area, and also where they are working, how they have made it to be a success. First, I started talking to you before you knew me. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ruth Agesa. I'm the chair of Education CEC Caucus in Kenya, and I am the CEC of Education Vihiga County. I'm going to moderate this session, and the first person I would like to introduce to move to the stage is Dr. Max. Dr. Max Donha is an accomplished professional with a strong background in education. He is the Managing Director and Director Government Relations at IDU, founder and CEO of a successful English kindergarten. He has a PhD in psychology and a degree in economics. Dr. Max Donha combines academic expertise with practical leadership skills to drive impactful initiatives in both the education sector and beyond. A clap for him as he goes to sit. Now, I would like us to give him that Obama clap. How many know the Obama clap? We just clap continuously until he sits down. Let's go. If it was Obama, it was going to be doing like this and talk, eh? Thank you, Max. And the second panelist is Dr. David Wamamili Wanyonyi. Dr. David, just hold on, I tell you who this gentleman is. He is the CECM Education, Bungoma County. He is actually the current CECM Education and Vocational Training in Bungoma County. Prior to this appointment, He was a senior lecturer and head of department in the Department of Curriculum Instruction and Educational Media at Moi University. Karibu. Haya, pigeni makofi. Now, the third panelist is Madam Esther Okello. If you want, call her Pasaka, because Easter is Pasaka. Esther is representing Dr. Edgar Otumba, who is the Chair Education, Pillar Lake Region Economic Bloc. She is the technical lead for the education and training pillar and the gender, youth, and persons with disabilities pillar at the Lake Region Economic Bloc. With expertise in development studies, she advocates for inclusive policies and sustainable socio-economic development, mobilizing resources and fostering partnership. A clap for Esther as she takes a seat. The next panelist is Professor Nelson Wawire. This gentleman is the boardman, Kakamega County Investment and Development Agency. Stand here. Nelson is the board chairman of Kakamega County Investment and Development Agency and brings over 19 years of experience in teaching, research, and consultancy. He's an expert on microeconomics, public sector economics, and project planning. Contributed to the research in economic development and human capital. Is consulted for international organizations such as the World Bank and local ones like IPAR and KIPRA. Now we're going to change our clap. How many know the Moi clap? Eh? Okay, we are going to do, let's go. Yes. And there was music. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. And the last panelist is Dr. Salome Maina. She is a Director of Education, Office of the Director General, Basic Education, Ministry of Education. That is the headquarters. Ukisikia wale akisema education huku hivi huku county, huyu sasa ni kule mwisho Stani. Salome is representing Dr. Elias Abdi, who was supposed to be here. Elias Abdi is the Director General of Basic Education, Ministry of Education. She has a strong education background, having trained as a secondary school teacher and as an officer at the Ministry of Education. She holds a PhD in educational research and evaluation, educational planning, and Bachelor of Education. She has a wide experience coordinating implementation of government and educational policies and programs. She has been a County Director of Education, a Deputy Director of coordinating teachers, education and training at national level. Right now, she's the Director of Education. Dr. Maina is currently employed at the Director General's office, where she's expected to play a critical role in strengthening and coordination of education function at national level. Karibu. Makofi kwake. Now, before we go, let's just move. as they were moving the table, they were also telling me something that I didn't say, a story about myself. But before I say that, kindly I would request those sitting on this side to move and sit on this side, because I would like you to see the panelists as they are talking. Kindly. So before we go on, I'll just say that the person speaking in front of you, that's Ruth Agesa, is a dedicated civil servant with over 30 years of experience in public service, with expertise in educational planning and administration, music, and peace. She has held significant roles, including she's now the chair Education CEC Caucus. She's the CEC Education Vihiga. She's been a director of Education, Ministry of Education, the headquarters. She has been the executive secretary for Kenya Music Festival and head of performing arts. She's been the head of protocol at the Ministry of Education, and she's an author of some book and several other journals. That is Ruth Agesa. Thank you. So to start us off with this session, I would like us to go to our first session, which is dealing with policy landscape in the integration of technology in education. And I would like to ask a question which I'm sure our colleagues are going to answer, the panelists. The first question is, what is the national government's agenda and policy around technology in education? I'm lucky I have panelists here from both national and county government. So may I pose this question first to Dr. Salome, who is from the national office.
Thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, thank you, moderator, for that question. I want to say that at the national government, we have a policy framework that guides the implementation of ICT in education and training. And the policy is here with me, which was developed and launched in the year 2021. It is available online. This policy is a sector policy which guides the education sector. So it is applicable for all the levels. And it has 8 chapters that guides on what is expected in implementation of ICT. How do we go about it, the safety, the content, and all that. So it is a policy framework that guides what is expected of us in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salome. And now that here we are not very many representing the country, how does this information reach those ones who are at home and those ones who are not who are not near the headquarters?
Thank you. As I've said, you don't need hard copy. We're actually talking about digitalization. And if you went to the website of the Ministry of Education, you will definitely find it. Now, what has been happening in the schools is what is actually being implemented, the digital learning. All these programs that are being implemented, the digital content by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, the capacity building, they're all guided from here. So it is only that the packaging, you may not understand that you are talking about the policy, but actually what is out there, what our partners are actually doing, they're actually implementing the policy. Thank you.
So could we say that maybe for those ones who are in the rural areas, let's say Turkana, Mandera, or wherever interior, the interior parts Is it now were you going to use the IDU, or whom are we going to use to make sure that this information reaches them, that they should be able to access that information on maybe online?
As I had stated earlier, we find that when we talk of the digital learning program, the DLP, it is guided by this policy. We have programs like computers for schools that are implemented in all the secondary schools. We have had partners that have also used this same framework that are like Tusome. And what we are now looking at the IDU and the Safaricom as some of the partners, as some of our partners. Currently, we are having a program that has been rolled out in the whole of the primary sector, and also in the targeting the teacher training colleges, funded by the World Bank. And all that we are doing, it is reaching every corner of this country. So in doing that, we are actually implementing this policy, because what we are doing, like for instance, as it has been stated about Masinde Moriro, we have a program for the teacher training colleges. And in the teacher training colleges, they are across the country. This program, we are having what we are calling or referring to as the iHubs. And in the iHubs, what is expected of the curriculum-based teacher education is that we must integrate ICT in teaching and training. And those iHubs are enablers for the teacher educators to be able to train the teacher trainees to be able to integrate the ICT. And this is well also guided, not only just the content, but it is a framework. They are guided by this particular framework on how to go about it. So we cannot say that there's any corner of this country that has not had that, because if we talk of digital literacy program, the DLP was across the country, and the same for the secondary, the computers for schools is across the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salome Maina, for that response. And now I would like to pose another question still under the policy landscape and in the integration of technology in education. This question is going to the county governments. What are the county governments' agenda around technology in Kenya? And I have several of my members from the county here. Let us start with Dr. Mamili.
Thank you for that question, Daktari. Yeah, the true position is that county governments may not be very far from what the national government has prescribed, only that at the county governments, we try to customize whatever there is. And I may give the example of Bungoma, where, as it had been stated, and I think Max was mentioning in his speech, in Bungoma, we are already even implementing the literacy program, where we are partnering with AIDU. So the policy is that we have to accept and have integration of digital literacy. And when we look at the competencies of CPC, you find that digital literacy is one of the competencies. So we are very much in order and in line with what the national government has prescribed. We have customized, and we are going ahead also to implement digital incorporation in teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Maybe Madam Okello, you have something to add? She'll give us some experience from CI or the Lake region.
Thank you, Daktari, for the question. Allow me to first and foremost take this opportunity to appreciate AIDU for organizing this event. The side event is very important, and it's a very important conversation that we are having here. Secondly, allow me to also just put us a snapshot sensitization that I represent the Lake Region Economic Bloc Secretariat as the pillar lead for education and training, which is currently separated from gender. There's a gentleman in the audience who now represents gender and social services. Thank you. We have Leonard representing that. And then secondly, allow me to say that in terms of policy development, we rely on the overarching policies developed by the national government. The Lake Region Economic Bloc Secretariat, I would also have a disclaimer that we do not implement, but we influence policy at county level. So currently, what we have witnessed going on in terms of policy is incorporating digital literacy aspects in the planning documents. To start with, we have the CIDPs, and digital literacy has been incorporated. So looking at LREB, we're looking at 14 counties. So fortunately all the 14 counties incorporated digital literacy in their planning document. And then at the Secretariat, we also have 10 pillars, which is a replica of what we have at the counties, and ICT being one of the pillars. We have a pillar lead for ICT as an enabler that cuts across all the other pillars. So we are focusing and using that particular pillar to support the digital literacy advocacy in the Lake Region Economic Bloc. Then aside from that, I would say that we are also now, as a bloc, we have also identified academia and specific universities that have a strength on ICT to support institutional strengthening to the county government structures that we have. For example, ICT was identified in Kibabii University, which is in Bungoma County, which is a member county. So Kibabii domiciles our ICT Research and Innovation Center, supported by Kaimosi University, that also supports one of that. So we are looking at a broader aspect in terms of incorporating this in our planning documents. We have the strategic plan in which this was incorporated. Secondly, like I said, we are a coordinating entity, and as a coordinating entity, the governors gave us the mandate to identify best practices and ensure that it can be replicated in other counties. So if there is a best practice example in Bungoma County with the digital literacy aspect, we would ensure that it's replicated in the other counties. So this is also incorporated in the Lake Region Economic Bloc Blueprint, which is a document that we use as a Bible to look into interventions that can be effective. So digital literacy is very well taken care of structurally in this document. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Okello. Anyone who would like to contribute to that? You heard her talking about...
Let me say something, because
Yes,
I'm among the panelists. I'm the user of the policy and not really a person dealing with the policy formulation. And before I continue, I want to mention what we do where I work, but there has been some issue there, so I don't know whether you will give me 1 minute to mourn my student, then I mention the university.
To mourn?
Yes, just 1 minute. Okay. For us, I think each one of us know what happened to Kenyatta University. We lost quite a number of students. So I think I've mourned. Yeah. So as the user of the policy from the Ministry of Education, and given what our Director of Education has said, and also from the university, I'm not seeing him here.
Dr. Eric.
Yes, we are very grateful for the policy from the ministry, because it has now allowed us to teach online, do many things online, including keeping even theses and projects online. Right now, if you go to Kenyatta University website, you can read a thesis that has been written. Even my own thesis that was written in 2006, you can actually. So this issue of copying plagiarism is a thing of the past because of the artificial intelligence which uses the Turnitin in the university. And so it's a very good thing, although Eric says it was good to have COVID-19, which is actually the correct position, because we started teaching online and even supervising exam online. So you get a laptop, you get all the students there, they are at home, you tell them put on the camera, then they put on the camera, and you make sure that all the time throughout the exam the cameras are in and they don't leave where they have sat. Because if they will go and copy something and then come back. So that was a very good thing that came our way. As we are talking, all our modules, in fact, each of the university lecturer must teach at least one unit full online. And so it is also reducing costs. I think the Safaricom person talked about reduction. I'm in this conference, and yesterday from 7 to 10 I was teaching my class. Just go back to the room and then start. So you don't postpone. You don't postpone anything. Now also we were experimenting thesis presentation, defense. Online. We have had, I don't know what the problem this one is. We have had students who finish and then they go and then we process their thesis, and if they are in Nigeria, UK, wherever they are, we just plan, and then we say 9 to 12, you will be defending your thesis. The only thing you do, you make sure that all the time the camera is in, because somebody can present a thesis on behalf of the other one. That is the problem. So we make sure the camera is on and is won't put enough bundle. And we don't have students flying all the way just to come to defend. So it is a very good thing. And then each of the units in the university, and by the way, Kenyatta University was the first university to digitalize. This one of Mazinde Muliro came the other day. So the modules, we partnered with Commonwealth universities, and we developed modules for all the subjects, all the courses, and they are online. And so when you are teaching, you use the modules online, so you don't waste a lot of time with the yellow papers trying to turn pages. It's very, very interesting to teach in the university now. By the way, I've taught in the university for 30 years, not 19. I think this was an old script. So thesis, if you want to read the online modules, examinations, I've talked about them. Issue of plagiarism is now reducing because of that. Then meetings now, you meet through Teams or Zoom. No paper. There's no need for paper. You just come with a laptop, and all the deans, heads of department have laptops, and they are facilitated in terms of bundles. And then the internet is everywhere in the campus, plus the spots, hotspots. I think they are called hotspots everywhere. So students accessing assignment online, doing everything online, then sending to you for marking online is not an issue. And so it's a very good thing. And that's why I placed myself in this panel. Not because I don't know education, by the way. I'm an economist. But I placed myself in this panel because the investment I want for Kakamega County Investment and Development Agency, investment is about these government hubs that are coming up, the digital hubs.
Professor, you have said it, and we were on question one, you jumped already to two.
Thank you,
I'm going to allow you to actually talk about it more, because you're just going to that.
But if you don't mind, it was just one statement on attitude. If you don't mind, because Prof has spoken, just one statement.
Okay.
I just want to say that Dr. Eric mentioned about the we were talking about and appreciating, not in bad faith, that COVID brought all this. I want to say that in 2017, 18, 19, we taught a program, Borderless Higher Education for Refugees, and a good number of officers in Somalia. We taught them a collaboration of Moy University, University of British Columbia, and the York University. And we're just doing it here in Eldoret. I just wanted to say that, Prof, you are not ahead. Moy was far ahead, and you're just following now. Thank you. And that's why Bungoma must lead in digital issues.
That's fine, that's fine. And members, ladies and gentlemen, there's a time when Madam Okello was referring to ILREB. I don't know who doesn't understand ILREB. And then she went further to say 14 counties. Could you be knowing the 14 counties? Hello? You know the 14 counties? Hello? How many know the 14 counties? Good. The ones who don't know the 14 counties, we are in one block. I'll just mention them very fast. The ILWEB is that's the lake basin, the lake region basin. That is Bomet, Kericho, Bungoma, Busia, Vihiga, Homa Bay, Kisii, Kisumu, Nandi, Nyamira, Siaya, Kakamega, Migori, and Trans Nzoia. Those are 14. They are the ones that make the lake region. Although someone was asking me if they make the lake region, why are we having Bomet, Kericho, and Trans Nzoia there? They wanted only those ones who are nearing the lake. But anyway, that is how we are clustered in Kenya. Now with that, we're going to have the questions as we finish. Do you think so? So the second question, the area that I'm going to dwell on, is the current status of integration of technology in Kenya. And the question comes, what are the achievements so far? Professor Wawire, Professor, ongeza hiyo kitu ingine.
I think I've covered that question very well. I don't think I have much to add. But I know that we have integrated technology in the learning, especially at tertiary institutions, including having a full program that we run online virtually for common market of East and Southern Africa, COMESA. It is a master program in regional integration meant for government officials and those interested parties, but the qualification is such that you need to be in trade and other areas related to COMESA. And I want to welcome each one of us to check, and if you are interested in trade, that program you can do it even when you are working. There is also another program, Madam, that is also part of it is online. It is called the Master of Economics, Cooperation and Human Development. This is a program we are running with UNDP and the University of Pavia. And the cooperation and human development aspect are being taught by professors from University of Pavia online. So we share the units. Some units are taught in the University of Pavia online, and some units are taught with us. So we have virtual programs which we can say we have integrated in the technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What other achievements, members, the panelists, that we can say that we have so far in integrating technology in education? Yes, Daktari.
Thank you. I want to mention that because for us at the county level, mostly we are confining ourselves to our mandate. I may mention this, but let me mention about ECD, where specifically in Bungoma we are already implementing, because at the ECD level, majorly is introductory a process. So we have the gadgets where the learners are introduced to. Our teachers, basically I didn't mention, we have, the government had employed 2,100, but because of natural attrition, the number must be low a bit, but of the 2,100, we have trained over 100 on, with the partnership with EDU on how to use the gadgets in digital literacy. And you find that the learners, teachers are also very much excited. Bungoma has 45 wards, and we have begun with at least ensuring that in every ward, at least one school is registered for this purpose. So we are moving on, and we also have the big book, and soon in partnership with EDU, the integration will be taken to another level, where the teachers now are supposed to be taught, guided on how to use the book, integrate the content, of course the content that has been approved by the KICD. So at least we are moving on, and we hope we are targeting 2027, but I'm so sure by next year in our budget we have to incorporate and ensure that the gadgets are there, the teachers are well trained, and we move on with the digital literacy. Thank you.
That's nice. And now, what initiatives or programs have been successful in providing equitable access to digital learning?
Moderator, kindly allow me to give something on the achievements at the national level.
Yes.
And this does not specifically apply to national level. I know they trickle down to the county level. I can look at the achievements from the various sectors. If I start from the Ministry of Education itself, besides the policy, we find the infrastructure, the devices. We had the DLP and all that. Now, when we come to Kenya National Examination Council, we find that exams are uploaded. They are supposed to download and upload, courtesy of the ICT infrastructure. For the teacher training colleges, exams are actually done online. And when they began, the first year they began, they actually borrowed on the devices that were given, the DLP devices that were given, and they were able to do the exams. And moving forward, that is the trend for the teacher training college, that it is paperless, that you have to do your exams online. When we look at KICD, the content is there. They have developed the digital content. Now, other achievements that are coming in, we find like the ministry now has the NEMIS, or what we are now referring to as the CHEMIS. We have modernized the National Education Management Information System. Now we are now calling it CHEMIS. It is as a result, it is the digital, it is enabled, digital enabled. Now, to enable us to achieve what we intend to achieve, we find other partners coming in. We have the Ministry of ICT. We have the ICT Authority. They have their roles to do that. We have the electricity connectivity. We have the internet connectivity. These are something that is happening across the country to as a facilitator and enabler of ICT integration, especially in teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Waziri, if I may also add something?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's been summarized very well, and it's also in line with what we see when we engage with government and also with schools on the ground. There's a lot happening already in the implementation on the national level, across all the different institutions on the county level now as well. I think the policy is guiding the direction very well. I think where we are now is in refining and basically taking it to the next step, basically. And that is something where I have to say, Kenya, if it continues on this path, and I really like what Dr. Salome also said, which is in line with the Presidential Working Party's recommendations, the partnerships, right? I think government is the one guiding through policy and also making sure that standards are upheld. But then partners can bring in their expertise to support, and then together the thing can be implemented. And I think that is something where the Kenyan government is a very good example of, you know, how this is done. If I look back to my own country, Germany, we are, I don't think, at the same level as Kenya when it comes to digital. But the world is moving. So others, especially after the pandemic, are realizing that they need to catch up. And that is what I mean. Like now we need to keep charging ahead, but I think we're on a good path with the counties and also conversations with the national level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Max. I think now we can move to, would like to know the initiatives or programs that have been successful in providing equitable access to digital learning. Which programs have we had? Adam?
I seem to be repeating myself, but it is okay.
I'm telling you.
Yes, but some of the programs that are key are actually what I referred earlier, issues of digital literacy program that are in our primary schools, and then the computers for schools, because they are given across the country. And of course, just like I've mentioned, when we have the digital content, when we have the assessment, when we have the infrastructure that we have, then we are able to utilize that infrastructure. So with that, we remove the barriers that could be there, so that regardless of where a child is coming from, there is no geographical barriers. Any learner can learn from wherever they are. And as we said earlier, you find that ICT is an enabler, and as it was mentioned by one of the presenters, is that it is not ICT, it is not the learner, it is the ICT. It is, how was it? The ICT is not the learner in the class, it is the ICT now. Yes, so that is what is key, because so long as there is connectivity, it doesn't matter whether the child is in Mandera or wherever the child is, so long as there is connectivity, the content is there. The cloud is there. We have the cloud at the KICD. You can learn whatever you want to learn from there. The resources are there. So then we have the partners that have come in, just like we had the Tusome program, the Pride program. All these ones were across the country. It is not limited. I am aware that Edu is, for now you are at the early years, and we are hoping we will scale up to other levels so that other levels can also benefit. But if the early years are done right, if the foundation is right, then it will be very easy for the child to sail through when they go to grade 1 and to the other levels. Remember, one of the competences expected in CBC, it is digital literacy. So it is an enabler. So there is no two way about it. We have to embrace technology, and that is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so. Yes, Doctor.
I may just add a bit that take the example of Ngoma, the basic administrative unit is the ward. So when it comes to doing anything, all wards are sort of involved. I mentioned that when it comes to the digital literacy, everybody at least, and then when it comes even to infrastructure, construction of ECD centers, every ward gets equal opportunity. So when it comes to equity, I think that's taken care of.
Thank you so much. Now that members, you've had some talk about policies, we've talked about the current status of integration of technology in education. I'd just like to know, what are some innovative strategies or approaches to ensure there is sustainability of digital learning programs? Because we've had programs coming in, after some time, they collapse. They come and the tenure expires. So we want to know what are the innovative strategies that you are putting in place or are to be put in place for us to have these programs going on and on for sustainability. This one, I think Max.
Yeah, if I may start. So when we started with IDO in 2015, this was actually our first question. How can we make it financially sustainable? And at the time, and still I think many people, when they think about digital learning, they think about one tablet, one device for each learner. But when you think about it, financially, this is not very doable, right? I mean, that requires a lot of investment. It also requires a lot of maintenance, safekeeping of devices, charging of devices, and then piece by piece you start excluding areas with, infrastructure that cannot cater to charging that many devices, safekeeping, etc. So we said, okay, let's start from the other side of the spectrum, and let's start with one device for 30 learners, maybe 2 devices per classroom. And that is something for the past 9 years that we've been optimizing and working on. And now we see that teachers can use it to effectively deliver digital learning. The learners are learning more. There's actually an independent randomized control trial that just confirmed at the midline that learners add about 9 months in a normal school year on top of what they used to learn through the digital program. So I think one of the things we have to rethink is the ratio of devices to learners. Of course, if you can bring more devices because you have more budget, please do. But keep in mind that the lower ratio also works very well, and it removes many of the barriers. And one, for example, also is integrating it into the schedule of the teacher. If you have a device per learner, you need to sit them all down, you need to do a digital class, you need to run it very different from how you used to run your lessons. And with 1 or 2 devices, you can integrate it in the morning hours, in the afternoon, it works very well. So I think that is one of the innovations that we can bring to the table. But I'd also like to hear Bungoma on this, because they have been implementing it on that experience.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. On our side, we'll talk mostly about sustainability.
Yes.
And I believe, Bungoma Kenya is a very good country. Director Kakamega County has talked about capitalization, which I think we'll maintain. But in our policy in Bungoma, but still at the public participation level, we have partners will be called upon at every other time. And the first partner for us is the parent. First partner. So when the parent is a first partner, we believe that everything should not be solved on so even in high schools, even in high schools, primary schools, there is a level that the parent should be involved. Parental involvement should be very crucial. But unfortunately, we want even to deny parents their role in bringing up their children. So for our policy, we are saying that we will be having partners, our average is 6 learners. Indeed, we have in excess of 100,000 learners in the ECD section. Now, when we have parents, and it's just a matter of getting 50 shillings when it will be necessary, that should not be a lot. So long as not interfered with, is sustainable. Thank you.
Well, and when it was said in Kenya that there is free primary education, and here you go and tell parents to pay for the gadget or to contribute. And of course, there are some areas that we know in Kenya whereby a parent cannot give out a coin for a child because the president sometime announced that the education is free. So what will you do in that situation?
I don't know how free is free, but the position is we want to involve, we need to involve partners, partner like AID is here, so when the Safaricom so many partners, and we're looking for partners, parent remain the number one.
Okay. The microphones
I
are-
wanted to, thank you, Dr. I wanted as a rejoinder to what Dr. Wamilili is saying about sustainability. Last week, we had a conference in Dar es Salaam about sustainable financing for ECD, and I think it is still a similar conversation that we could be having here. How do we make sustainable financing for ECD so that digital literacy is also incorporated in it? And we are looking at how counties can use a blended approach, because EDU may be coming with a program which has a specific timeline. So like you've been here for the last 9 years and maybe hope to be here for another 5 or 10 years. But then when you leave to another project or something else, what happens? So in order for this to happen, we have seen, like I'd said earlier, the CIDP already has it planned, meaning that we are already geared towards sustainability of the same. But we have still been working on the processes, and we've worked on the processes of achieving digital literacy for a long time, but I think it would still take time for us to achieve sustainability. So upon having it incorporated in the planning documents, then we would look at how to promote teacher education and then sensitization to the parents, because we know that we have quite a high percentage of parents with already the smartphones. And so just sensitization on how to use them effectively and gainfully is what may be needed. So in as much as we are open to partnerships and collaboration and having that multi-sectoral approach to sorting this out, we have to be very deliberate and specific on items that would enable us achieve digital literacy very soon. So we have 3 stakeholders. We have the county governments who are mandated to finance digital literacy component in the ECD, and they have incorporated it in the CIDPs. And then the aspect of budgeting for it is also there. Then on the other hand, like Dr. is saying, we also have the parents to charge with taking responsibility, just like they took responsibility upon other programs that were initiated. Currently, CBC ongoing, there's a lot of engagement. Parents are really engaged in ensuring that they achieve what is expected of them. And so the same can also be done for ECD. Again, the other aspect that we just still need to enhance more conversation about this, because I've been listening to conversations here in this investment conference, and very little is talked about the foundation, very little is talked about investment in ECD or ECE as an investment. People don't really see it as an investment, but it's high time we started looking at it from a different lens and very seriously. So that just as they budget for roads, they can also budget for these gadgets at the county level. So a lot of sensitization really needs to be carried out across board, and also partnerships. Currently, I know of Nandi County having partnered with Safaricom to train the teachers, and also I'm glad Bungoma County is doing the same. So when you look at our counties, the 14 counties, we realize that just about 4 counties are on the right track, aside from having incorporated it in the CIDP, but now actual implementation is still really wanting, and we would wish that more sensitization be done so that it can be effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us have Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, moderator. Now, I said I fixed myself here for good reason. I'm the research coordinator in Kenyatta University Women's Economic Empowerment. And one of the projects, we are carrying out 14 projects funded by Bill and Melinda Gates in terms of empowering women. In fact, we were in Kakamega here sometime to talk to the ladies. But where I came is because of the early childhood, the ACT, where the policy says, and I hope I'm right, that PP2, a child to go to school, I think is 4 years. Is 4 years. So 3 years cannot go to school. But for us, we wanted to find out this home care, child care, which takes a lot of time with the mother. Supposing this 3-year-old was taken to school and the mother relieved from that care, how much money can she make? Because now she can work more and do more. So we have set up a randomized control trial, and we are using Tarakanidi for that randomized control trial. We have asked permission, you know you are here, we have asked permission from the Ministry of Education. We have a letter to do that experiment, and we renew it every year. I don't know why you want us to be renewing something every year. So we were given last year, we have now renewed it, and so on, because you are not allowed to go to the schools. You are not, without a letter. Yeah, so we got a letter, we did everything. One of the board members of the hub is actually Karaoke. Karaoke is the director of projects. Yeah, so we have set that experiment. It is started in January. We are getting the 3-year-olds into the school system, and we are monitoring the progress. We have developed all the materials, and this is what I want to ask Max. The materials we have developed for 3-year-old, which are play groups, are physical. You know, he's talking of digital. As is physical. So the blocks for building houses, the mukeka is called what in English now? That one, the mats. Yeah, the mats and other play things, materials, physical. So I'm wondering, this Pungoma, you don't have anything physical at that level, you use the digital one. And supposing now, because my main idea, because I'm the principal investigator, I want, once it succeeds in Tarakanidhi, the next count will be Kakamega, now for implementation. But now Max is coming up with something else, that when it succeeds, and now we have to implement, if the trial succeeds and we now have to implement, it means that we now don't use the physical, we go digital. That is the clarification I wanted to get from you. Thank you. Thank you.
This was a question directly. May I answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think, you know, the education system works with multiple pieces, basically. And digital is one of them. The physical is one of them. The teachers, the social emotional development is one of them. And I think they need to work hand in hand and together and integrate well. And I think that is the key to it. Before I joined IDU, I was actually running a preschool myself. And so I'm very well aware, also in my PhD, I looked at the studies and the development of young learners. The physical is absolutely critical. Like the sensor, motoric functions and the development of those, we need them. We need the social emotional development. But again, the digital is one piece, you know, same as it is one part of the CBC, one of the pillars, but it's not the only pillar. Thank you.
Maybe just to add, Prof.
Just a follow-up. Okay.
Yeah, just to add, Prof. You just mentioned Bungoma. It's just incorporation. And I'm just agreeing with what he's saying, that digital is simply incorporated. Even the book is still there, the teacher is still there. So it's not that we are disqualifying everything else.
Oh, then okay, thank you so much. I'm saying this because the materials took some good money to develop, Now you are telling us we add another one for digital. Don't you think that implementation will almost be impossible?
I think I would like at this moment for Dr. Maina to make it clear to us the ages that are allowed in PP1 and in grade 1.
I think for PP1, the best placed are the officers from the county government. But for the from grade 1, the legal age of admission is 6 to 13.
6 to 13.
Yes.
So when you talk about 3 years, you know we're actually going into daycare centers. And I think it was just recently when we had a meeting with the COG and Max and the others, we discovered that with the devolved education to the counties are supposed to have ECD, child care centers, homecraft centers, and VTC. And in Kenya, these child care centers are more realized in very few centers. When we were carrying out the research with IGTRC, we found that Nairobi and Mombasa are the ones who are very much known to have child care centers. In Kisumu, they have come up. But other areas, people are having child care centers, but they don't know if they are child care centers. They just take a child and put at a neighbor and say, Linda Sisi, and then they come and pay. So at least we are really passing out the motto and the advocacy for all the counties to now come in with the child care centers and homecraft centers. We've said a few because we entered into partnership with one group that is in VTCs. You get a room, they make for your child care center, because our girls, we don't want them to get married and stop going to school. So you take your child there and then you go to class. When you come from there, you pick the child and go. So I wonder just as we're talking, we should actually look at the ages.
Yes.
Because some of these, our members will imagine that they are going to start taking children to PP1 with 3 years, and the policy will not really allow us.
Okay. Thank you very much. In fact, you are very clear. And that's why we are doing an experiment. That's why it's called randomized control trial. That's why we went to the ministry to ask, supposing this play group, which are taken to care center to play, supposing we introduced a curriculum there and some materials for them to do some learning. So what we are doing, what we asked is to be allowed to get a curriculum, which we have done. It was approved. And then the materials, the play group materials, it was approved. So it is an experiment. But what you are saying is the formal way of doing things. So if the experiment succeeds, then we shall now tell the Council of Governors that please, this thing can succeed. Don't just take these children to go and play and sleep. They can at least learn 1 or 2 things using this curriculum. So we are even testing the curriculum. This is a study, a randomized trial by University of Bangkok, Kenyatta University, and Yale University. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've now done issues on policy and then the status that is there currently. So I would like, after all that we've had, let us listen to the way forward in the integration of technology in education. And the first question I would like to ask is, what is the way forward in the integration of technology in education across the country? What is the way forward in the integration of technology in education across the country?
I can start. Okay, thank you for that question. When I look at my thinking about sustainability, because there are areas that I felt I needed to mention about sustainability, and that would lead us to the way forward. Like we know very well when we had the DLP, most of those gadgets were actually locally assembled. They were assembled at JKUAT and were assembled at Moi University. Now, when we have the locally assembled, and just like Safaricom also mentioned that they are doing it, that brings in the element of affordability, so that they are able, it is affordable. And besides that, the maintenance comes in, the component of the maintenance, because having an experience working in the field, whenever we had issues, we would send them back to more universities and more university, and we'd have those gadgets repaired. Now, the other element as a way forward, and also as a sustainability measure, is what I look at, the pre-service teacher training. Because CBTE has integrated ICT in the training, in the teaching and training. There is no way, and it is actually one of the competencies expected of a teacher, as we expect of the trainee, so of the learner. So once we have that, the teachers changes the attitude, because one of the challenges that we have been having of ICT is actually the attitude, and especially when we come to my age teacher, unasema hiyo wao si.com, si ndio? The new ones are readily embracing, because you would find a teacher with a smartphone but he doesn't want to open a computer. To him, those are two different things, yet it is one and the same thing. And we even have smartphones that are more powerful than even the computers. So it is a question of attitude. Now, this, as we look at the sustainability point of it, when we were looking at the key players expected by this policy, TSC was given the task of capacity building of the teachers in the service. But the ministry, for the teachers in training, they will leave having changed the attitude. They will be able to incorporate that. And once we change that, it also goes to the communities. And CBC, as it was noted, you can't succeed in CBC without the involvement of the community. The other thing is that way forward is public-private partnership. There is no way, two-way about it. That is the way of sustaining, and that is the way forward. We must incorporate public-private partnership as the way forward. Now, when I also look at the efforts that have been done by the government, especially connectivity, the hotspots and all over, in the markets and all over, if a teacher wants to download what NEC has put in the portal, doesn't need to cost that particular teacher. They can simply walk to where there is a hotspot and download the material. So the same, if they want to get the content, the cloud is there, the KICD cloud. You only need to go to where there is connectivity. You download the materials are there and for free. So for me, the way forward is that if we have the connectivity, if we have the electricity connection, because in some areas they may have challenges, but the biggest challenge is actually the connectivity. Once we have that, with the gadgets, I was talking to Dr. Max and he was telling me, I was asking him, for a class, how many gadgets do you need? And he was saying that we are starting with 1 to 30, and eventually as you continue, it will even be 1 to 15. We don't need a gadget for every learner. A teacher can use a gadget and be able to teach. Just like he was giving the example, the learners need to be wherever they are, and he's able to supervise them from wherever he is. And the exams are also can be done wherever the students are. So that is the way forward. When we look at it, is that if we look at the measures, as a result of this policy, we have a innovation center, ICT Innovation Center for the Ministry of Education. It is based at the Kenya Science, where in Nairobi University, which was formerly Kenya Science, we have an innovation center there, ICT Innovation, which we refer to it as ICT for E, for education. So the sustainability mechanisms are there. It is us to tap on where these mechanisms are there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm interested in investing in area. and for investors, for us to partner. In fact, I just wanted to talk about the public-private partnerships, which we need because some of these gadgets are expensive. And I'm happy that Max is here and is doing a lot of work. We know those gadgets are not very cheap, and so funding is actually required. So partnering with you and others so that we can get these gadgets is very, very important, and is one way. And so Max, talk to us. We want you to be an investor in Kakamega. Thank you for bringing yourself. Yeah. And we shall work with you. So looking for investors to invest in this digital economy, gadgets, helping us, and so on. And then the other thing is, if we can get investors, and I'm happy you are talking about very many schools in Kakamega. And by the way, Chair, I'm a board chairman. I'm a chairman of a board of management of Siviriya Secondary School. I don't know whether you have heard of Siviriya Secondary School. It's one of the best performing schools in Navaholo. Yeah, because of what I've instilled there. And the problem is the hotspots, internet. So if you can have public-private partners to come and invest in this digital world, in these educational institutions, not just the university, because the university have money. That's why they have been able to do what they are doing. But secondary schools, we actually don't have money. Like now, we are just struggling. We don't know whether the term will end. So we need, through the ministry, a policy to have that PPPs so that you can get somebody to be charging something small, but to provide these internet services across the secondary schools, across the village polytechnics, and the debate centers, so that at least we can move forward. Otherwise, we shall be saying digitization is very good, but the gadgets are expensive. Schools cannot afford. I've been trying to get gadgets for my teachers so that they also teach using tablets. It's very difficult, yeah, and yet that is the way to go.
Okay.
So investing in Kakamega in those gadgets are very important. We need public-private partnerships, and the schools are many, polytechnics, village, and whatever. And then I think no, I've finished.
Yes, I think, Professor, maybe what I could like to say is Dr. Maina may not go now to the ministry and ask for permission of being given PPP, because in the year 2005, just look for the sessional paper number 1. It made states very clearly that things or the schools or institutions cannot move by themselves alone, and that's the time we introduced public-private partnership. So if you just go even on the internet, look for it, it is going to give you more guidance and look for more partners. It's there. And it was given by the government, the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's a policy, but I do the public-private partnership in the other side of economics.
Yeah, perhaps I would say that having encouraged private financing for digital literacy, or maybe what you can call it PPP, we also need to build a community of practice using the various platforms that we have for learning. I want to be looking at a situation where Daktari will be showing others what he's doing differently that has made him succeed in that line. And then for sustainability, we look at how budgeting is done in our counties. When you're doing your budgeting, maybe you don't know the committee, legislative committees in education, so that you'd be handling your own budgeting in your department, and then the other education committee would also be doing one on their own. So for LREB, we were looking at a scenario where we could be bringing both the executive and the legislative arms of government together, so that when budgeting, or rather when creating these policies, they do it collectively together. That would be avoiding duplication of roles, and also ensuring that there is ownership, especially when it comes to allocation of resources, because many a times what we see happening is that resources are not allocated, even though they may be budgeted for. If the two entities worked together, then that would easily be achieved. And then, just like I said, we have several platforms that we can continue enhancing this conversation about digital literacy and how important it is. We are not replacing the physical learning gadgets with the digital one entirely. We are looking at ICT just as an enabler. And so from that aspect, I know that there are many components that can be used that would benefit the schools, that would benefit the teachers, that would benefit the parents, so that wholesome, we just have a holistic child that grows into that digital space, because after all, that is where we are geared towards. So it's good that early in the day, we embrace this aspect as fast as possible. Thank you.
I would like just to ask a question as we are going towards the end. In the next 12 months, what do you think will be the look of Kenya, or education in Kenya, with the integration of technology? In 12 months. Yes?
Okay, thank you, Waziri. Well, I think it depends on basically the levels of government we also look at, and of course it's a question of partnering. The PPPs have been mentioned. So when it comes to the ECD level, it seems like more and more counties are now joining the digital side of things. So I could imagine in the next 12 months, which is almost the next budget cycle, the full next financial year, I think we can be in a space where, I don't know, 60-70% of the counties have adopted digital learning in its different forms. When it comes to the national level, the thing we're currently discussing with the ministry, and we actually just submitted a concept note on this, I think there is a possibility that all primary schools across Kenya, grades 1 and 2, could have digital learning as shown here by the end of next year. So that is a possibility to do it nationwide. Maybe one last comment on the sustainability issue, because I very much agree also with what Easter said. The government needs to be able to run it and finance it autonomously, right? I mean, education is a core government function, and it should be a core government function. Now, Kenya is spending more on education relative to GDP than, for example, Germany is. So there's already a lot of money going into education. I think what was missing so far is an efficient way of delivery. And that is something I think that we're showing now in the counties that is very possible to do. And so we're hoping it catches on more, so that in the end the government is autonomous and independent in delivery. Thank you.
Yes, Dr.
Just one statement that in the next 12 months, talking about digital literacy will not be a surprise to many of the people in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay. And my last question now. How can Kenya provide equitable access to digital learning by 2027? How? Equitable access to digital learning. Yes, Dr. Omar.
Is the issue of policies now. Once we have the policies incorporated, because what is written into law will always be performed. So we ensure that digitization is in our policies at all levels, county, national, even including universities now.
You know, 27 is when we shall be going to vote. Prepare
and
next voting. Yes,
I'm just wondering whether from the national government there's a way they can whip the counties to customize what is already provided for from your end, because we know that policies are provided for by the national government, but counties can customize it depending on county specific needs. So if there's a way of whipping so that it's done faster, it's not storytelling, then I think that will be okay.
Dr.
Thank you. That's a good question. What I want to mention is that in the development of the policies, the Council of Governors is represented. Actually, we have I can share with you, I can give you a copy of the policy, and then you will see the people who participated. So actually, once we have a policy framework at the national government, it is actually a guide through which the counties should now customize them to fit their own needs. So actually, once we have this framework, just like we used the framework for ICT authority, because they are the one with the mandate, then the ministry picks what is relevant. So we are supposed to scale down to our own area, and then we domesticate it to suit our need. The framework is there. So I don't think it is difficult now for the counties to pick this and look at what is relevant for them. Now, back to the question, how digitalization, how we are going to find equity coming in as a result of digitalization by 2027. I want to still look at ICT as an enabler and a platform through which is used to break all the barriers, regardless of where you are. Because what the content is, once the content is provided and the connectivity is there, then any learner can learn from wherever the barriers are no longer there. Besides that, I want to say the programs that the government has initiated through the Ministry of Education, I mentioned the issues of the capacity building of the teachers, because we know the quality of education is as good as the quality of the teachers. Once they embrace that and their capacity build, then they will be able to do what is expected of them. So when we look at, we also have other programs that are being implemented through various partnerships at the national level. And as I mentioned earlier, we have one program that I referred to as KPIL, and this is the Kenya Primary Education for Equity Learning Program. And this is the program that I talked about, what they are doing for the teacher training colleges to align them to the competence-based teacher training programs. So, and that is where we are going to have the iHubs. And through the iHubs, and what is expected is that we are going to have structured linkages with the neighboring primary schools. So what is the future as we look at it is that once these iHubs are fully utilized, we are going to revolutionize even how teaching and learning will take place in our learning institution. That is how I look at it. Because it will no longer, as he said, the yellow notes. We will not need those yellow notes. And out of this, we are going to have the communities of practices. That is where the teachers will be learning. And actually, as we are doing using the iHubs, The teacher doesn't have to, for you during the practicum, you don't have to be practically in the school because the screens are there. You can be able to what do we call it? During practicum, you can see what the student is actually doing. So those are some of the things, that is the future we are looking for, or we are looking at for the teacher training colleges. Now, we also are having another program referred to as the Kenya Primary Learning Program. And also, there's a lot of focus on ICT. For me, when I look at it, there's many things that are coming in the education sector. And of course, we have very many partners. We have also a program with Safaricom for teacher training colleges. They were able to establish the ICT centers for the teacher training colleges, because even what the government is giving through the iHub is not sufficient. Our enrollment has gone up. So they are also substituting that by establishing where there are no labs, or where there are labs, they are renovating and equipping. So we have partners that are able to do that. And we, of course, we appreciate even more collaborations with more partners. But before I conclude, I have a question to pose to Dr. Max in regard to the EDU and the platform. And from my concern is about inclusivity. And my question is now on adaptation in line with SDG 4, because we talk of inclusive education. I don't know, do you have a version that is adaptable for learners with special needs? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I think what we have to recognize is and you said it before, ICT is an enabler, right? It's a tool. What is relevant is what is on the devices, yeah? What kind of content is there? And I think in that sense, it is something that is open. So whatever is approved by KICD, whatever content is there, can be put onto the platform. So anything that is out there by publishers that can be digitized, that is already digital, can be put on there. So I think you should see it more as a tool that supports teachers and learners, but it's like an endless book that can also display, of course, interactive content and so on, and give immediate feedback to the learner. So in that sense, it is doing more than the books. It also saves you the printing, so everything is always up to date. But it is open. So when there is content that you would like to add, it can be added as long as KICD approves.
Thank you, Dr. Max. I think because of time, I'm sure we can talk about this ECD until and the digitization until taking quite a lot of time. But I think I would like us to stop here by first of all allowing the members, if they have any questions, to ask the panelists. Any question about what they have been talking about? Hello? You want to say what they said was 100% good, clear? No. Okay. Any question? Yes?
Thank you. Now that I have microphone, my name is Paul Ongwen from Investment Agency of Kakamega. And the question I wanted to ask is how we can integrate the aspect of practicals vis-a-vis theory in this digitization, because we know that like us counties, we deal with the ECDs and polytechnics. And the CBC is more of a literacy-based. And it has a lot of practicals. You find a child maybe sweeping, maybe modeling something. So I just wanted to know how we can integrate the two so that we move forward together. Thank you.
Another question?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask, my name is Moses. I wanted to ask Dr. Salome from Ministry of Education whether there are any lessons learned after the distribution of laptops in 2013. I don't know whether 2013 or 2014. Whether as a ministry you learned any lessons, and or whether you find that program to have been successful.
Any other, or we answer the two first? Another question?
It's not a question. I'm called Eunice Mbenya from the County Government of Bungoma. First and foremost, I wish to appreciate my brother from Kakamega for the issue of capitation. I think the Presidential Working Party has recommended a 1,170 capitation for pre-primary education, giving 130 for ICT. But unfortunately, they left out very important aspects like co-curricular activity. So from the ministry, I hope when you look at that Presidential Working Party, just give some advice. They may be not understanding that co-curricular activity begins from pre-primary education. Also the aspect of quality assurance and assessment. We were in a meeting and somebody said that the quality assurance and assessment monies put on the budget is for the officers. They do not know that that is the support program for these purposes. I'm sure there may be some people here who are not educationists. When you talk of the ages of pre-primary from age 4 to 6, we are not cognizant of the fact that those ones who are differently abled can join pre-primary at any age, depending on when they are ready to go to school. Thank you.
Okay. Any other contribution or question? Okay, Dr. Max.
Yes, thank you. So to the first question specifically on how to integrate the theoretical and the practical. So I think a very good example is the Tusome or the Tayari program, Tayari in ECD, Tusome in primary, which basically gives teachers lesson plans with a lot of practical examples and ideas and best practices on how to teach and how to basically deliver the curriculum. So one example, I was in a classroom in Muranga a few weeks ago, and it was a Monday, and because of the lesson preparation and the lesson plan, the teacher had gone to the market on Sunday and purchased a couple of vegetables to showcase to the learners the vegetables that were currently part of the curriculum and part of the lesson. So I think that way you can integrate the two by basically providing ideas and best practices so that then they can also be implemented with materials that are there. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, Dr. Maina.
Okay, thank you for the question on DLP devices given by the government in to the primary schools. I want to say there were indeed lessons learned, and one of the lessons learned was that the people who had issues with the gadgets, as she gave my profile, she said I came from I was a county director of education. And indeed we would go to schools and find our devices nicely packed for us. Who had the issue? The teacher. The teacher had a very negative attitude. And I said that is the teacher of my age who thought technology, they don't belong to the technology. So out of that, that is what brought in a lot of capacity building so that they're able to change their attitude. Coming to the learner had no issue. I remember we went to launch the devices one afternoon after the power had just been connected to that school. And I told the teachers, allow them to use the devices. Give each one of them. And believe you me, they could open and access the content of that. So the learner are ready to learn, and they are quick in catching up with the technology. And where we have where the teachers were able to utilize the devices well, there was improved learning outcomes because there was the learning. They were able to readily learn even on their own. And it also made teaching and learning very interesting to the learners, and also made the work easy, because even when the teacher was away, work was still going on. So there were lessons learned. And I also want to say, just like I gave the example, when NEC started doing e-assessment, what they instructed is that let the colleges, through the county directors or the sub-county directors of education, borrow the devices from the primary schools surrounding the colleges, because they're the devices that they were to use to do the exams. And that was able to be done. So the devices had no issue. The devices were actually very good. And wherever I was at during the time I was at the county level, I never used to work with a gadget. So long as I know there's internet or my phone, I can tether. I would use whatever gadget. I would just go to a primary school, pick a tablet and pick let's say a projector. I want to present something. And in that way they could now see actually these things are not what they were thinking. They could now started embracing the use of the technology. So the devices were actually very good for the schools and for the learners and also for the teachers. Now, I hope I've answered your question. There was a question you raised about we should be able to tell what was recommended by the Presidential Working Party. I want to say that on a monthly basis, we have a national steering committee that is actually chaired by the cabinet secretary himself. And in that particular committee, the Council of Governors is represented. So for me, what I would advise is that channel that concern, and it will be able to be presented by the council. You know, sometimes when I go presenting for the Council of Governors, they will wonder, who are you presenting? You know, it's not actually my concern, yes. So let it come through the channel, and I know those are concerns that will be able to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've had a good interaction on the issues concerning digitization in
one last thing on digital literacy. One of the advantages that came as a result of that program was electricity connectivity. Sini ukweli? Yes, there was connectivity, the last mile. Yes. And that is why most of the villages were able to get what? Electricity. I think that is a very positive thing that came as a result of that program. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I think I was just coming to conclude by saying that our meeting today here has been very productive because we've touched on the policy landscape and the integration of technology in education, and we've gone further to get to know the current status of integration of this technology in education, and we've been looking at the way forward. And as we leave here, I'm sure a lot is going to be done in our institutions. Just the way you say, you heard of what Dr. Omili said when I was asking about what we think about the 12 months to come. But I'm sure many people have already now started embracing this. Even soon, Vihiga is doing it because it's already budgeted. So I'm sure we actually want to move with the proper trend. And maybe now, as I conclude, I would like to say that the way it was said about one gadget for 30 children, I have witnessed myself. I've gone to several schools. I've been to Mombasa, and you find that there's only one gadget in the classroom, and learning is going on. And the children, I was wondering, they're just too, I was wondering if the brightness has been poured into their heads, or actually they've been learning. They are quite attentive, and the way they solve things is very fast. So I would encourage those who've not started, at least to now do it. And you can just take a trip, go to, Mombasa is very far. You just go to Murang'a, Kiambu before Bungoma starts. But you can talk to Dr. Omili here, how is it going on, how do we start, and you start moving. At least Vihiga Joy was there, and she went up to the procurement. So I know things are going to be to work very well. And I would like also to thank you for your patience and your listening and the way you've also asked questions. Madam giving even more contributions to education. You know, education is the backbone, by the way, of many things. Hata ukitaka kitu yoyote lazima unaanzia kule kwa education. And you know, we're actually talking more about the ECD, which is the foundation of the child. So if you also give the proper digitization, then they will move better. Otherwise, I would like to thank also the panelists. You've done a good job. You've been patient. Of course, it's going into the night. These days when it's 6, you start imagining it's still daytime. At 7, it's still bright. But you can see we have actually taken quite some time. So must thank every one of you. Let's clap for ourselves. Tena, asante. Okay. And before I release the panelists from stage, I'm told that there is a professor. Niwell.
Sorry, before we conclude, let me also take this opportunity and thank our wonderful moderator, Waziri Dr. Ruth Agesa from Vihiga County. Thank you for steering us through this topic and making sure everybody has a chance to say something. We got questions from the audience. Thank you very much. I think a round of applause for our wonderful moderator.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. I would like to give the chance to Professor. Madam Dr. Maina is having 3 policies. So